Okay, well, thank you all for attending, and let me get back into this now since everybody's going. So this is a very short session, so I'm going to get going right away, and it's only 15 minutes. So I'm going to be talking about configuration features. Safe harbor stuff applies, although most of the things I'm going to be talking about are generally available today. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some things that we have planned for some coming releases. So the agenda, why should you isolate your customizations? And what should you do? What are the actions that you should take to do that, to accomplish that? I'll talk a little bit about the tools and features and then some more resources that are available to you. So why isolate customizations? Well, first of all, most customers have some amount of customizations. I mean, almost every Peoplesoft has done customer has done some level of customization, and some of our customers have done massive amounts of customizations. So customization is both a benefit and a burden. It's a benefit in that it can really let you tailor the application to your specific enterprise requirements. It's a burden because it's costly and time-consuming to maintain those customizations, particularly when it comes to lifecycle management. When you want to take a new image from us and take advantage of the new features that we're delivering, and then there are all sorts of conflicts that you run into when you want to take a new image and you have collisions with your customizations. So what we're really striving for with a lot of the things that we've been working on, and as you may have seen from some of the other presentations, the keynotes, and from Dave's roadmap presentation, this is a major initiative for us. We want to enable you to keep those changes that support your unique requirements. That's really where a lot of the power of PeopleTools comes in, and it's really a distinctive feature of PeopleSoft to a great degree. However, one of the things that we're really striving for is to eliminate the high cost of maintaining those changes. So enable you to take new images more frequently without the cost of reapplying all your customizations every time you need to do that. So there are two types of low impact change, and this is not a comprehensive list, particularly the one on the left, but I wanted to point these out. So there are all sorts of things that you can do without using App Designer, without writing new code, without touching our metadata and stuff like that. You can create your own home pages, you can create your own tiles, nav collections, you can use Forms and Approval Builder and Page Composer and things like that. And all of those things are quite easy to do. They're easy for you to maintain, and they don't cause collisions with our delivered stuff. And in fact, many of our customers have created their own home pages, nav collections. We know a lot of customers have done tons of nav collections of their own tiles and so on. What I'm going to be focusing on today, though, is the things that let you isolate customization. So where you really want to change delivered product. So you want to change pages, you want to change the code, the processing that happens, you want to change things in your app engine. That's where I'm going to focus this talk. So the benefits of this is you don't have to re-implement the changes. If you make a change to a page in drop zones, or you make a change to your code in event mapping, when you take a new image, you don't have a collision, you don't have to re-implement those changes. Makes change management easier. Although it is still change, you still have to manage those changes, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But again, as I mentioned, and this is the key, is allowing you to keep the changes that are important to your business. Now, as part of the process, you're also going to want to look at eliminating change that's not needed. And that's part of the process that I'm going to talk about in a minute, too. So the ultimate goal or benefit, though, is to make upgrades easier, right? So if you don't want to stay current, or you don't want to take a new image because, oh, wow, this is going to be a major project for us, we're going to have to re-implement this vast body of customizations, then this is the objective, to make that a lot easier. We also are striving, now that we have these tools, to make managing the change easier, and you should also look at automated testing too. So what should you do as part of the process? And this is where I really want to focus a little bit today, perhaps more than on the tools themselves, is that this process of, if you adopt these tools and you adopt these things, what's the way to take advantage of it? So first of all, we recommend doing an inventory of your customizations. Take stock of what you have. And when you do that, evaluate the value of those changes. Always ask yourself, what can we eliminate or retire? Do we have customizations that may have been part of, or that have been basically replaced in delivered product? We don't need to maintain these anymore because Peoplesoft is delivering them in the product. What changes are really essential? What do we need to keep and what don't we need to keep? So based on that evaluation, plan to retire the ones that aren't needed. Reduce that number of customizations that you even need to consider isolating, or look at ways to re-implement them in a different way. So then, once you have those essential requirements that you say, these are really important to our business, we want to keep these, that's when you look at isolating the ones that you want to keep. Once you've got that list, and I'll talk in a minute about how you go about doing that, then you want to plan your ongoing change management strategy. So, for example, you're still going to want to keep a catalog of everything that you're doing, whether it's isolated or not. And also think about, as you introduce new changes, do them in a way that keeps them isolated. So if you want to change a page in the future, for example, you want to add a custom field to it, don't do it in the delivered page, do it in the drop zone. And so that way, in an ongoing way, when you make change, you'll keep them isolated. So, however, for your existing changes, there are really three approaches that you might consider. So the big bang is, one-time effort. You go through that, you catalog your changes, and you say, okay, we're going to bite the bullet here. We're going to go through everything and do this isolation. Generally speaking, I don't think people will want to do this if they have a lot of customizations that they want to isolate. I think this would be more appropriate if you have a small number of isolations that you can address relatively easily. The more likely approach for most customers, I think, will be the incremental change. So when you're planning a PUM upgrade, you're doing your change system, compare reports, and so on, and you'll look at the changes that you have, the customizations that you have, and address those in an incremental basis. And then over time, as you go through different PUM cycles, you eventually will have most or all of your changes isolated, at least those that are capable of being isolated with the tools that I'm going to talk about. The other approach is cherry picking. So identify the most important requirements that you have, the ones that are affected most often by your PUM upgrades, or the ones that are most costly in terms of re-implementation, and maybe address those first. So the big key, though, is this is work, right? So even though we're making it easy to do this, it's still work. It's still something that you're going to have to account for, that you're going to have to do. It's going to cost you something. But investing in these isolation techniques now can result in big savings in the future every time you want to take an upgrade. And again, it allows you to stay more current. You can take upgrades more often without the worry of or the expense of considering those customizations. So let's look at some of the tools that are available. So I'm not going to go into detail on all of these, of course, because this is a 15-minute session. I'm going to give you just a brief overview of these tools, and I'm going to point you to where you can get more information on them specifically. So the one I want to talk about first is Page and Field Configurator. So this tool, is many of you may be familiar with. It's been around for quite a long time. It's a great tool to let people address the most common things, the most common changes people make in their pages. So, hiding the fields, changing labels, hiding entire pages, all sorts of things. Very common changes. And you can do this in a very simple TIA UI. It doesn't require any coding or anything like that. Under the covers, not many people may know this, but under the covers, basically this generates event mapping, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. But it's a very simple way to make the most common changes. And in fact, there's a session if you're not familiar with Page and Field Configurator and you want more information on it, there is a session dedicated to that at Reconnect today. So the next one I want to talk about is event mapping. Event mapping lets you inject your custom code either before or after our events that we deliver. At this time, you can't delete the delivered code or can't replace it with your event maps, but you can effectively override it. So you get a choice when you're creating an event mapping method. You can say, I want this to run before the delivered people code or after the delivered. It gives you complete access to the component buffer, so you can do a lot with it. You can really do. You can address all sorts of things. It's assigned through the related content framework, which has been around for a while. Event mapping was introduced in 8.5.5, and we've been enhancing it ever since, every release since. In 8.5.6, we introduced quite a few more events where you can apply event mapping in 8.5.7 and 8.5.8. I'll talk a little bit more about that. So drop zones were introduced in 8.5.7, and this lets you input new custom fields on a page, labels, widgets, basically anything you want to add to a page. Now, the difference with drop zones is you have to use our delivered drop zones, or you should. We recommend that. If you and the application teams have delivered drop zones in almost all of their Fluid pages in recent releases, and you can see that on peoplesoftinfo.com. You can get a list of all the pages that have drop zones on them. So basically, you go into the page, you add your custom fields in a subpage to those drop zones, and then those are bypassed at compare time. Again, we advocate not creating your own drop zones because that drop zone that you add will be a customization. So don't create your own, use the delivered ones. Now in 8.5.8, we introduced 8.5.8 tools. We introduced drop zones for classic pages. And the application teams are creating drop zones in their classic pages in upcoming images. I think some are already available. Forms and Approval Builder is a way to replace simple paper forms and manual processes with automated online forms and Approval Builder. I think I'm going to skip Page Composer just because of the time. And don't forget about related content. You can add all sorts of things. I've seen customers add training videos, external website content, all sorts of things in related content. And that's another way you can add things to your pages without causing conflict. So let me talk a little bit about what's coming up in the next release. So as I mentioned, in event mapping, we're supporting a broader range of things. You can also add things to sub-pages and secondary pages now. I mentioned the drop zones. You can add things to classic pages now. App Engine plugins is a new one, and there was a session I just attended this morning on that. Somebody did a great job there. This basically lets you customize our App Engine plugins without any conflict. Page and Field Configurator, again, they've been enhancing that in images. Now, Page and Field Configurator is delivered in applications, not in people tools. And now you can do masking sensitive data using Page and Field Configurator. We also have planned reports to help people manage change. I think I'm running out of time here already. This is really, we also have, I'm going to have to go really fast here. Now we've got this customization repository. There's a blog post on that. If you want more detail on that, I'd suggest going to look at that. There's also a new thing coming up in some upcoming images. Again, this is delivered by Apps, Not Tools. This is a configuration specialist homepage with some specialized roles that enable SMEs to perform configurations, both things that are delivered in enterprise components and things that are delivered in tools. So things like page and field configurator and form designer, as well as people tools, things like activity guides, nav collections, and things like this. And the reason for this is we want people to be able to expose these capabilities to their subject matter experts and functional experts without exposing the entire people tools menu. And this is, as I said, planned for upcoming images. Real quickly, if you go out to peoplesoftinfo.com, tools and frameworks, there's a configuration page out there where you can get all sorts of details. There's videos, there's links to papers and things like that, where you can learn a lot more about a lot of these customization features that I mentioned. And finally, I want to point out that a lot of customers are already doing this. In fact, I just heard about another customer today that's really taking off with drop zones, Alameda County. So you can read a lot about the stories that people are doing, taking advantage of drop zones, event mapping, and so on. And then we also have a lot of articles in our blogs about this. And I'd also encourage you to look at some of our partner blogs. Some of our consulting partners have a lot of great blog posts on these various features as well. Okay, and then finally, just the housekeeping. Visit the Oracle booth. You can talk with us. Check out our blog, which I just mentioned, and then keep up with the updates on peoplesoftinfo.com. That's always a great place to go. And I think I'm already over time a little bit, so let's see here. Let's see if we have any Q&A stuff going on here. So there's a question from Zaidi. So Camara didn't show up. I don't have a suggestion. I'd have to learn a little bit more. Zaidi, if you could, maybe send me an email and reach out to me more on that, and I'll look into that. I'll talk to the enterprise components team and find out. It may be simply just a function of how the changes migrated from one environment to the other. Okay, so let's see. That was the only question. See if there's anything else in chat. Okay, I think there's nothing else. So, so this was a very short and quick session, but I hope you all got something out of it. And we'll see you around at the conference. Thank you.